Hello guys, welcome and welcome back again to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make a face mask without using an elastic band. I know elastic band is getting a little bit scarce in the stores today, or maybe you're just not able to go out to buy yourself an elastic band. You can still make your face mask, okay? And that's why I'm making today's video. So here are the materials that I'm going to be using. I have here two different types of fabric. And next I have my bias band, and this is going to be replacing the elastic band. If you don't have a bias band, you can also cut out fabric to for that purpose, okay? And lastly, I'm going to be using an already made face mask, or you can use a disposable face mask if you have that at home. But if you don't have it, don't worry. I'm going to be putting a pattern, a free pattern you can print in the description box. All right, so now grab one of your fabric and fold it into two like this, and then you will grab your disposable face mask as well, fold it into two and open it a little bit like this. If you're making for a little child, or if you're making for an adult, you can go ahead and open it a little bit wider. And after that, then you can place it on top of your fabric, and then we are going to be tracing this out. So I'm just tracing out all around the entire shape of the mask, and once that is done, I have this, and then I'm going to be adding about 1/2 inch joining allowance all around the pattern. And once that is done, then go ahead and cut out this pattern. And after cutting it, I have this, and this now is going to serve as my inner. So I'm grabbing another piece of fabric, folding it into two, just like I did the first time, and I'm placing this pattern on top, and I'm going to be adding about 1/2 inch to this area like so. And the purpose of adding this extra 1/2 inch is to make this second piece a little bit bigger. So now I'm going to go ahead and cut out the shape on the new fabric. You can trace it out first, or you can pin it down so it's easier for you, but just the main thing is for you to cut out the shape. So once I was done cutting, I have this. So I'm going to set that aside. I will set the small one aside, okay? So you see, one is smaller and one is bigger now. So I set the small one aside, and I'm grabbing my inner fabric. I fold it into two, and I'm placing this big one on top of the new fabric, and I'm going to be cutting it out as well. The big one, please take note.
I know it's been a while. I know you're thinking the same.
So after cutting it out, I have something that looks like this, and each of them now are in two pieces, okay? So what you're going to do next is to put them right side facing each other, and you're going to be stitching by 1/2 inch along this curved area. You repeat the same thing to each of the patterns. So I'm placing this one as well, right sides facing each other, and I'm going to be stitching also by 1/2 inch along the curved area. And the third one, which is the smaller one, I'm also placing it right side facing each other and stitching that way as well. So once that stitch is done, this is what it looks like, and if you open them up, this is what they are going to look like. As you can see, it's coming together nicely at this point already. So the next thing to do now is to notch all the curved area that you just stitched. So basically, we are just placing little cuts, little incisions on the part you just stitched, cutting as close as possible to your stitches, but try not to cut your stitch, okay? And this is just to ease the curve and make it flat and nice. And then I'm going to now take that to my ironing table, and I will flat open the seams and iron it nicely. I repeat that to all three patterns, and once that is done, the three of them look something like this. And the next thing I'm going to do is to grab the small one, this small one, and I'm going to be hemming the raw edge on the side like this. So just roll it twice and stitch on the other side, roll it twice and stitch. And once that hemming is done, this is what I have. And as you can see, the small one now has even become more smaller, which is actually what we want to achieve, because this is just meant to create the pocket for the filter. Okay, so now the next thing to do is to place the wrong side of this small one onto the right side of this plain fabric, like so. All right, and then you place this one right side onto the right side of both of them, like so. And once that is done, you can go ahead and pin them together just to make it easier for you to work with, and try to make sure that all the seams are matching at this point. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and pin it all around. So after pinning the 3 of them together, I'll take it to my sewing machine and stitch here by 1/2 inch and here by 1/2 inch. And once that is done, this is what I have. And now it's time to turn them to the right side. And I'm going to be making use of in between the 2 patterned fabric as my right side, here and here. Okay, as my right side, not between the plain fabric. I'm using here and here as my right side, so I'm flipping it inside out through that part. And once that is done, this is what I have. And now you can take this to your ironing table and give it a really good press. And once I was done ironing, I have something that looks like this. And now it's time to insert the twist tie if you're using a twist tie. And you can either put in your twist tie through here or here, but I recommend you put it in through here. Okay, so just put it in and push it to the very up to the up of your mask, like so. Make sure it's centralized, and then you can take it to your sewing machine and stitch this way, just to make sure the twist tie is properly secured and is not falling out. Okay, and the purpose of the twist tie is just to make sure that the mask can form nicely to your nose without it having space. Okay, so now I have my bias tapes cut into 4, and each of them is about 15 inches long. It could be 15 or 15 and a half. All right, so the next thing to do now is to fold the bias into 2 and then take it to your machine and stitch. If you are concerned that the end of your fabric or your bias tape may fray, then you can fold it this way and fold this way before you stitch, and then that's going to stop the fraying. But for me, it's not going to fray, so I'm just going to fold it into 2 and stitch all the way down. I'll repeat the same thing to the 4 strips of my bias. If you don't have bias, just cut out fabric 15 inches by 2 inches in 4 places and then fold it and sew it this way, and you can use it. So once I was done, I ironed it, and then it's time to insert it into the face mask. So I'm going to be folding the end of my face mask in this way by 1/2 inch. All right, so fold it by 1/2 inch, and then you are going to grab one piece of your already prepped bias bind, and you're going to insert it into it, making sure that the bias goes in by at least 1/2 of an inch, and then you can pin that down to keep it secured. Then I'm going to pick up another piece of bias and insert it to the other end as well. I'll pin that down, and after pinning, you should take it to your sewing machine and stitch here as close as possible to the edge. And when you get to the part where the bias is, you should backstitch to keep it nicely secured, and repeat the same thing to the other side. So as you can see, I'm backstitching nicely on the bias, and I also did the other side as well. And once that is done, that's basically it for this face mask. As you can see, everything came together really nicely, and on the back side we have a portion for the filter pocket. So you can put your filter in here and you can take it out if you want. And if you're worried that the filter may be coming out, then you can insert, you can put a Velcro or a snap button there. And as you can see, it can form nicely to the nose. So yeah, this face mask is like a complete package. It has the filter pocket and everything. So if for any reason you feel that this part is not fitting enough, then you can just give it one single pleat like so and stitch it down, and you can do the same thing to the other side as well, and that way it's going to fit really nicely. So here is mine. This is what I have, and I paired it with my scarf with the same fabric. So leave me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't. Bye.